Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lyds, and we're back for some more Thronebreaker, and we are now prepared to walk into whatever the heck this encounter is here, because, well, the thing is, we heard rumor, saw some note, some message that we intercepted that suggested that the dwarves are perhaps going to help Nilfgaard assassinate Queen Meve, or at least it sounded like that, or some subset of dwarves, perhaps not Bruver himself, but we'll have to see, and we are currently on low morale, which on one hand might be a bad thing. We're obviously going to be weaker going into this encounter, assuming that there is a battle involved somewhere, but then again, oftentimes the main quest battles, for whatever reason, happen to be the easier ones, so maybe this is an opportunity for us to sneak on by with low morale and not to worry too much about expending one of our shrines. Then again, we've accumulated enough of them at this point that perhaps that's not a huge concern, but, you know, if we don't have to use one now, then maybe we ought not to. So I suppose we'll hop in without having restored our morale at all, and we'll just see if we can handle it, and if not, then, you know, we might die, might lose, and go back and fix things up. But anyways, what could possibly go wrong? Surely it's not like they're about to assassinate Meve, right? Surely something terrible isn't going to happen as soon as we cross this bridge. Okay, it's an abyss. That's a great way to describe it. Or it's just a whole bunch of monsters.
Meve's force neared Davor'S abyss. Signs of beastly feasting were not hard to find. Countless paw and claw tracks were impressed in the blood-stained snow. Among the boulders, bones picked clean were strewn about. Gascon lifted one from the ground.
Empty inside,
he said.
Something sucked out the marrow.
Okay, well, I mean, based on what we saw down there, I don't think it's gonna take too many guesses to figure out what that was.
Meve soldiers feigned indifference to the grisly sight. They marched on, their stepped rhythm unwavering, a song on their lips. Yet hearing a slight tremolo in their voices, Meve knew they merely sought to drown out their fear.
Okay. I was gonna say, so not sure why they're so optimistic right now.
A moment later, a commander's horn sounded, the signal to halt. The queen galloped to the fore of the column and found herself at the edge of a vast, round hole in the ground. She could not see the bottom. Meve drew her reins tight to prevent her mount from taking even one step forward.
What is this? A crater? A desiccated lake?
Something else entirely? Did the dwarves dig too deep? Did they unleash the Balrog?
A mine of the strip variety.
Gabor explained.
Treasures we picked and shoveled for here. Diamonds. Till we happened on the beasts, that is.
What now?
Orion's a dam. Holds back a lake. If we can break it, water will rush in, fill the abyss and the tunnels from which the beasts emerge. Just need to get around the mine first. Way down's on the other side.
Okay, but, can't help but feel like that's a humongous thing to just be doing on a whim. Oh yeah, we're just gonna break this dam, and in doing so, release a river. Lord of the Rings references. And, you know, flood this series of mines that, sure, at one point in time were probably very fruitful. It sounds like, you know, valuable minerals and resources there. But, there are monsters there now. Still, I mean, it's not like we can just waltz on in and make that kind of humongous decision without first contacting the local utilities and see if they are okay. You know, we have to ask the regulatory authority to get approval of such a thing, right? It's not like Bruver is just gonna let us waltz on in and make those kinds of changes without his approval first.
Meve squinted and gazed into the distance. Indeed, there was the dam. And at its foot, a swarm of beasts roiled about. Her soldiers gazed at their queen expectantly, their arms at the ready. She knew well they would rush into battle, in spite of their fear.
Okay.
Gabor!
Meve cried out over the whirling wind.
Have you bards here in Mahakam?
Of course, your grace.
Then we shall give them good reason to compose this day, on the themes of courage, of heroism, of Lyria!
All right.
With that cry, the queen spurred her mount, grabbed a banner, and raising it high over her head, rushed headlong at the horrid swarm.
Here we go. Alright, Davor'S Abyss. The dwarves delved deep into Davor'S Abyss, and from it pulled diamonds of unsurpassed quality. These stones glistened at all the courts of the north, bejeweled crowns, capping scepters, studding chalices, and glamorizing ceremonial swords. Some stayed in Mahakam, though in more mundane incarnations, as drill bits or crystal cutters, for example. Yet the days of Davor'S diamond delving were long past. Now, only monsters crawled out of this dark abyss. Alright, gain 7 charges on your old catapult without it being destroyed. Okay. So special rules, not just a straightforward battle outscoring our opponent. Keep your catapult well maintained on all sides is our hint. Okay, not sure what this is going to be like, but let's start the battle. Okay, so is this all basically... Is the premise that there are so many monsters here that we could not reasonably fight them all off ourselves, and so the only possible way of thwarting this attack would be to release the river? And so we need this tunnel to drill through to make that happen? Oh, also, did we change our deck for the previous encounter? Because I feel like we might have. I don't recall, because this is a lot of slingers in hand right here. Let's take a look at what we can figure out here. So every turn on turn start, boost all allied units by 1. This is the old catapult. Every turn on turn start, if there are units adjacent to this one, gain 1 charge. Okay, so that's why we need to have cards on either side of it. Then damage a random enemy by 5 and all other units on its row by 2. If this unit's charge count reaches 7, Meve wins the battle. Okay. So we need to get... Ooh. Need to get units next to it, and we... all of our trinkets in hand. It's actually not the most straightforward thing to do. Might we deliberately get rid of some of these? Because if we're trying to outscore our opponent, sure, that's useful, but not sure it makes the most sense if we're focusing instead on just loading up on as many units as possible. Because I imagine they're going to try to deal damage to destroy a bunch of our stuff. So I'm not sure what direction we want to go in here. Double bomber, I mean, sure. Reynard. Alchemist. That's, yeah, I mean, I guess.
Here's the way down. We need to break through and destroy the dam.
Okay, yeah, again, we're just going to totally disregard how this would take years of regulatory approval and litigation to ever be afforded the approval to make such a decision. But moving this so that we can have this guy be right next to the catapult, definitely a good thing that we had all the Gesso units in our deck here, because that gives us 1 free unit here. So that's useful. What if we... should probably set Rose on fire as quickly as possible, right?
This could hurt.
Should probably do that. Then... oh. Ah, it's a random allied row. I was going to say, if we can use this as a free way to get more units on the board, that'd be great, but it's not necessarily guaranteed to assist us. Alright, so what are they trying to do? Damage random enemy by 2. Death Wish multiple units in this counter. Multiply this unit's counter by 3 and damage unit by that amount. Yeah, so this guy does give them damage. We can destroy it with the broadsword plus the Arbalest, giving us extra damage there. Is it a random unit, though? So, I mean, if the catapult gets destroyed, then we obviously lose. So, I'm a little concerned about that, you know? But, yes, we can do this and see what happens. Okay, loot, or get 1 Arbalest damage, but not a huge problem. Let's set the other row on fire while we're at it. And I think we'd like to ideally have a really powerful card next to the catapult and then use the alchemist to power it up, just so that it doesn't get destroyed. I mean, it has a little bit of armor, but not sure how much we can rely on it to stay alive. Okay, more slizzards. And it is getting weakened, yes. Becker's Stark Mirror, of course, we don't want to hit ourselves with this. But Alistair's Thunder is enough to destroy you. It needs to get up to 7 charges. Excuse me, wait. Oh, I totally thought this was gain 1 charge per unit next to it. Not just gain a maximum of 1 charge. So I thought we were getting 2 per turn because we had 1 on either side. So it's going to go a little bit longer in that case. But we have a lot of units in this row. Let's not load up too much just yet. Let's, And this is 2 damage. Oh, we're going to have to move other stuff as well, including our own cards. Yeah. And it wouldn't be enough to immediately destroy you anyway, even with the fire. So I think we might... It's a really preemptive Alistair's Thunder. Or we go Barnabas and just see what we happen to get. But that's probably also speculative at this point. I guess we just do this and we'll accept the fact that we're moving you, and something else is getting moved that is not ideal. It should probably be one of the footmen, because these guys we can swap out. So it's not a huge deal if they get damaged. It does get hit by the fire, and it does hit the old catapult. Okay, not too concerned. That did get destroyed. And did we lose... What was it? One of the Arbalists? But, yeah, so we did get rid of the Slizzard. It did target this, which is unfortunate. These guys are just boosting, not damaging, so that's not really a concern, I don't think. So I think it was important that we prioritize getting these Slizzards out of there as quickly as possible. So now, I mean, still, the Slingers are kind of awkward. But, I mean, we could do this and see what happens. Or we do this. Move you, and once again move one of the footmen.
Your Grace, monsters approach from all sides.
Yeah, they'll swarm. That is what they do. Okay, this guy's, again, more of a concern. Okay, down to 4. Might be looking to use the footmen soon. We'd like to get Knickers out first, ideally, so that we don't accidentally get a card out that we were already going to get. But at this point, they at least have enough units that we can actually benefit from hitting 3 from the Slinger. So I do like that. I think we will probably go that route. Damage random enemy by 2, so you could potentially destroy a footman. You could potentially hit the catapult. Leader ability comes back in 2 turns. I think we can still get by with this. And you hit that, that's no problem. That's a problem, though. Okay. Tell you what we do. We use both these footmen, because they are currently the lowest cards, or tied for the lowest card. Get something else, who knows what, in return. We actually don't want to damage any of their cards just yet, because we're trying to just swap these in for something that is higher power. And then we're going to use Becker's Dark Mirror to damage you by 15 and boost you, so that you are not at risk of getting destroyed. So that's the idea. Okay, and we don't get the deploy abilities, which is good, because we don't want to hit these guys.
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
Okay, and it doesn't matter that we only have 1 unit next to this guy, as we previously established. So now we should have highest unit is this Drowner. So that gets hit by Becker's Dark Mirror on the damage side, and this is the lowest unit, so this gets boosted up by Becker's Dark Mirror. Otherwise, that could have been really problematic. And that gets Knickers out, so that is great. Right next to the catapult as well. And this is... timer is increasing, which is a little scary. Getting more of these neckers, which is not a huge deal.
Excellent! The dam's about to give!
Okay, we're getting somewhere. We do have our leader ability back. And if we hit you, multiply this unit's counter by 3 and damage. So it could potentially be as much as 9 damage, would be 9 damage, on, well, hopefully not you, it's random, right? It doesn't say random? So not really sure what to make of that. We could Barnabas and see what we happen to get. Or we could destroy you, or we could say, you know what, at this point, we don't care. We're just going to ignore you, because we just need to survive for 2 more turns. That might actually be the way to go. I don't know if do they have consumption? Do they have a way of destroying this themselves? I don't know if that should be a concern. So we can definitely destroy it. We have leader ability on this turn. We have Alcer's Thunder. Barnabas is maybe a way to get some boosts. The Alchemist doesn't actually help us much here. We could lower you down. Not that that makes a huge deal. I mean, it does set up a stronger leader ability. But the point is not to outscore our opponent. The point is just for this thing to survive long enough. So, I think we will do this. And then move you with this guy for just a little bit of damage. Who do you hit? Okay, no problem. It was not the catapult. Should be fine. Okay, cool. Assume the highest unit from the graveyard. Gain charges based on that card and deal damage from that. Well, this looks like it's definitely going to be our Alcer's Thunder target. Let's hit you. And then that should mean, I mean, unless they have a way to immediately destroy this catapult from 13 power, that we should have this one all set at this point. We get lots of boosts, but that doesn't really matter. That's just points, no damage. So that's charge number 7. And that means we win.
Excellent work.
Not so bad. And as we suspected might be the case, turns out that the low morale wasn't really that much of an issue there.
And indeed, bards sang of this battle soon after. For no claws or fangs could break through the wall of shields the Lyrians raised that day. And no scales could protect the beasts from the Lyrians' stinging arrows and blades.
Fight! Do not relent! Let us show these beasts! It is they who should fear us!
The Queen shouted. In the end, the beasts turned to flee, yet Meve's force cut off any chance of escape. A solid wall of men began to push the monsters ever closer to the edge of Davor'S abyss. Pressed from all sides, the horrors began slipping over the precipice, screeching terribly as they fell.
This is Sparta! Oh, well that's, okay. Apparently Blood is a card that we're adding to our deck. Okay. We'll claim it.
Came at last.
Not sure how I feel about that.
The Queen stood at the edge of the precipice, breathing heavily.
Meve, just take a few steps back, please.
From the depths of the mine came muted growls and groans.
Let's flood the damn hole,
Hissed Gabor.
before any other shite crawls out of it.
A rush of icy water suddenly rose.
I thought it was going to give us a choice.
Abruptly plunged into the mine, flooding the pit. And where once lay Davor'S abyss, now lay Davor'S pond. Meve descended back into the pass, exhausted and covered in beastly blood, yet also exceedingly pleased. She was one step closer to dwarven support in the war against Nilfgaard.
I mean, I was kind of curious. I mean, yes, we did just shut down what seemed to be a very dangerous several nests of monsters. On the other hand, we did kind of also sabotage a mine. I mean, I suppose the mine was already lost, so it's not that big of a deal to flood it, but Still seems a little odd that that is something we would brag about to Bruver and say, see, look, we did this. You should totally like us because we did this. When that was, you know, destroying two different critical pieces of infrastructure for them.
Once the Lyrians had put some distance between themselves and the now destroyed monster lair, Meve ordered her men to pitch camp. Then she sent the quartermaster off for food and drink. The soldiers lit campfires, then set aside their weapons. Soon after, lively music and song could be heard throughout the camp.
Your Majesty,
Reynard said from behind Meve's back.
a messenger from the Elder-in-Chief.
The Queen turned to see a dwarf in a richly adorned jerkin and a shako with golden seams. She stifled her laugh into a smile and lifted her chin proudly, expecting praise and a pledge of aid in the war against Nilfgaard.
Something tells me it is not that simple.
My lady, your daring deeds have come to the Elder's attention.
Oh,
said the dwarf in
is
a
this the
measured
critical?
He's positively irate and demands an explanation.
Irate?
Oh.
But why? I and my men, we've aided you greatly.
Elder Hoog awaits at the Long Bridge. You'd be wise not to keep him there any length of time.
And with that, all the Queen's enthusiasm for a celebration was instantly gone. She waited until the fires expired and the songs died down, then gave the order to march.
Okay, so that's interesting. Was this the critical point at which Bruver decides whether he does or does not support us, even though we technically are not yet meeting with him? This is where he summons us. I mean, people have certainly told us that he is generally a very cranky guy, so maybe this is just his general way that he goes about doing things, but we've made a point a lot, as of late, to do things that would be things he would support. Yes, we had a few things early on that did not bode well for us, but we did a whole lot to try to counteract that. Some things that were sort of main quest things that were built in that we were just about guaranteed to do, but we went out of our way to do several other things in addition to that as well, so I am a little surprised and therefore thinking that maybe this is a little bit of a false alarm here, so we'll have to see. But I mean, what I hope is that, you know, just by sheer number of good things that we've done, that those outweigh the few bad things that we've done, but I have no idea how the calculations there are done. Maybe not everything is weighted the same way, and we happen to have done one or two wrong things that are really, really wrong, and the few, or the hopefully a little more numerous good things that we've done may unfortunately not have been quite as significant as the bad things. So, you know, how did they cancel each other out? I don't know. So I'm hoping that that is just a false alarm. Whoa, that's a lot of resources. Hoping that that is not too much to be concerned about just yet. And that maybe that's just how Bruver always is, and by the time we actually meet him in person, we can explain in greater detail the things that we've done and how they should be in support of his agenda. And the fact that Meve also seemed to say those types of things made me think that hopefully I'm not wrong in thinking that we've done a reasonable amount to win Bruver's favor. But as for this letter, day 234, first day of winter, going to be mighty rough. So cold the pickaxes are freezing to our hands. Had to cease work. Day 239, the snow is starting. 2 meters a day. No plow and visibility. Chimneys barely poking out the snowdrifts. Day 245, monsters attacking from all sides. Hard to hold ground. Huge losses. Day 250, had to abandon the mine. Retreating to Davor'S rump. Will return come spring. Petridge, have we've seen this name before? I think we've seen that last name before. Not sure if we've seen specifically this first name, but this was a group of people that we had encountered previously, right? And also, obviously, Davor'S rump is a place we've been to already, and might have been the previous main quest. I mean, it was a main quest location, but it might have been the most recent one that we've been to, and faced a similar fate where also got overrun by monsters because they dug too deep. So, you know, it does kind of beg the question, will the dwarves learn from those kinds of mistakes or not? Is there something hidden here? I feel like there should be something hidden here. Meve is hidden here at the moment, for what it's worth. Oh, Oh, there's nothing there? You can even go further in this direction? There's nothing there? My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. No hidden chests? It has been a really long time since we've had a hidden chest, to the point where I strongly suspect that we may have accidentally overlooked one. Let's do a little more looting here, because this last one was really fruitful. And it does get us over the 200 or 2,000 wood mark, which I'm pretty sure was the threshold that we were looking for in order to be able to craft some big stuff. I don't really want to invest so many resources that if we find ourselves in need of upgrading some troops that we are unable to do so, because we have 8 wood left. If we pick this up, and we're at least at 67, maybe that's workable? Is this also loot, or is that just rubble? Oh, well, speaking of chests, hold on. What do we have here? Oh, okay, a new border for Gwent multiplayer. Gotcha. Nice dramatic hammer. Very nice. Okay, so there's that. There's also, if we go to our tent here, that new card, Blood. Which, what is the deal? Look at 5 cards from your deck and play 2, then discard the rest. Ooh. Okay. So, it's 2 cards in 1. Usually, of course, you're getting 1 card worth of value out of the 1 card you play, but in this case, you're getting 2. So, in terms of just raw value, it's good from that standpoint. Also gives you a little more consistency in that if you did not happen to draw into some of your best cards, you have a way of still getting some of them, or at least having a chance of getting some of them through this, so increases your consistency in that way. The downside is, of course, that you're discarding 3 of those cards, which means that if you happen to have a terrible starting hand, you use Blood, you see 5 cards, and they're all amazing and you want to get all of them, and you're forced to just get 2 of them and get rid of the other 3, then you're never going to see those other 3 again, and that kind of stinks. On the other hand, technically speaking, we do have a synergy with this above it that actually benefits from discarding those cards. That being that if we were to use that in combination with Skull, then it gives us a way to get more units into our discard pile, up to 3, and that means up to 3 additional damage on every unit in a row with Skull, which was one of the reasons why we started to drop Skull. Was there were a lot of encounters that were just 1 round, and that meant if we have Skull in hand, the only way we're getting any value out of it is if our opponent happens to destroy something. So that was unreliable. If it was a long 3-round encounter, then we could be much more confident that we could get really solid value out of Skull, but that just wasn't always something we could rely upon. So that, in combination with especially, hold on, the Footman. Move this unit to your deck. Oh, okay. I didn't remember if it was, felt like it was Graveyard, and if so, that would have been another way to get easy cards to destroy. I mean, just starting with a few weak cards on the board, like the Footman and like the Arbalest, does make it a little bit more likely that we have more units that are going to eventually go into our graveyard. So I know at first glance, Blood might seem a little scary in more ways than one, but because of the whole I don't want to discard cards thing, but the upside is quite big, and the downside, you can actually still find ways to benefit from it. So I do kind of like it. At the moment, the way we have things built here, this Tainted Ale is, and Becker's Dark Mirror are both things that have their somewhat niche cases, or at least in some cases are also not super reliable. Becker's Dark Mirror, if you're not careful, will backfire on you big time. So I think we kind of just threw it in there in one specific encounter where we were fairly confident we could make it work, but maybe we dump that and we put in Blood, and if we do, then we might also want to reintroduce Skull. At which point does that mean we get rid of Tainted Ale? I mean, I do like how Tainted Ale it is still guaranteed way to destroy a card. Which is really nice. If our opponent has something that's really high priority. Kind of similar to Alzur's Thunder. This is more wide damage. These are more tall damage. Sort of like single target versus AoE, to put that in another way. Skull is also AoE in that way, but do we get rid of a single target ability to do that? The high end is still better than, potentially better than Northern Wind, but Northern Wind is more consistent. I don't know. I mean, at this point, could we justify having one more trinket in our deck? Maybe. To make room for Skull, but that is not an option that is available to us, and at that point, we'd have 5 in our starting deck, which is pretty crazy. Because they all begin in our hand. The other thing we were considering doing was this upgrade here, which is a pretty huge one. Astronomically expensive. Increasing our recruit cap to 300. And that's going to get rid of a whole lot of our gold, though. We just picked up a ton. And the vast majority of our wood. And that's honestly, I think, the bigger concern. But I am tempted. Let's just see if we take a look at our map real quick. Is there any other loot we might be able to nab that we can see before we head out, so that we can, you know, perhaps make sure that we aren't completely broke when we come across this encounter, which might necessitate that we pick up additional cards? Yeah, I don't think we want to rush into that just yet. Tempting as it is, unless we find that we get a little more wood elsewhere. We do, technically speaking, have a place where we can exchange gold for wood over here. It's a pretty bad exchange rate, so I'd rather not do that. We also have this place where we can bet a bunch of gold, and that was another thing where we were saying we'd like to have enough to get the 10,000 gold upgrade, and then still have some gold to spare, so that if we did this and we failed miserably, we wouldn't be broke. Same idea with trying not to spend all of our wood. So we're close to reaching both of those thresholds, but I don't think we're quite there yet. And hold on. So that's a tiny bit of wood and a little bit more gold. Is there anything hiding behind here? Not really, no. But there is this, which looks like a dead frozen dwarf. Which is probably not a good thing. Petrit, that is the name that we saw previously. I agree. The mine must be evacuated. Okay, so I'm glad to at least hear that it seems as though the dwarves were thinking the same thing that we were thinking, that the mine had to be flooded. And it wasn't like, hey, we were about to fix that thing up and go back to it. And Berber's like, what the heck, Meve? You just ruined everything. Carry as much as possible of what you've excavated so far, and raise a red banner so our scouts can spot ye in the snow. All of Boros Rump looks forward to your safe return. Yeah, about that. About that. Okay, so we are expecting to run into something else over here. We picked up a little more resources. I'd love just to get a tiny bit more wood. Tiny bit more wood before we start to make those upgrades. Also, what is the deal here? Another letter. Welcome to the lands of Clan Vidmar. Don't think we've heard that name before. You share a tale, we share the ale. Hoo-hoo-ha. Is that their thing? We've heard some people say hoo-hoo-ha. Is that specifically the people from that clan who do that? Tiny bit more wood. Is that enough to change the equation? Not necessarily sure that it is. I mean, that's a tiny bit more. A little more gold as well. Is that lootable? It looks like it is. It's not the encounter, at least not yet. Tiny bit more wood still. Anything hiding here? Oh, well, that's a locked chest, and I'm pretty sure we picked up a key when we were interacting with that dwarf. Loot. Golden chest. The lock. And there's that as well. Can we get through here? Do we need to go around? I think we need to go around. By going around, are we going to trigger this stuff at the ruins of White Forge? That doesn't sound good. But I'd like to see if we can get this stuff first, so that we can maybe get some upgrades.
Frozen, old. Only the banner moves, blown by the wind.
Downright poetic. Prime material for a ballad. Perhaps even a whole saga.
Alright, Gascon. Well, this is probably the red flag that we read about in that previous letter. As for this chest, it's unlocked, and in it is the, oh yes, the premium version of Barnabas. As I said before, love it. Love the animation. That goat is just, it's too good. It's so good. Absolutely claim that thing. Okay, great. Well, I'm glad to pick that up. And do we make those upgrades we were talking about before? Do we make some of those purchases? Perhaps. Perhaps at this point we're okay with it. Just out of curiosity, for frame of reference, if we did find ourselves in need of crafting some units, how much wood does it cost to do that? And some of them don't cost any, as the case of that Scytheman. You cost 50, so we have enough to get one of you. Again, don't need to get a full list of what everything costs, just looking for a general sense. How many cost wood, and of those that do, how much is it? Yeah, so around 50 to 25 for the most part, it seems. 10 in this case, but you know, I'm also not really paying much attention to, is this a specific unit that we would want to get, or is this something that's trash and is not ever going to help us? Well, not really sure, but this one is expensive, but okay, so at 86 wood, it's possible to get some things. So maybe what we do is we do make this upgrade here, and we do have the option, at least, of going back to that dwarf in the other town and exchanging gold for wood. So if we find ourselves in desperate need of picking up more wood, I don't think it's a ton, but it's something like 200, which should at least be enough that we can craft a few units here or there. So I think we do it. It's obviously it's totally preemptive because we don't have enough cards. Unless we just load it up on every single card that we own. Even then, I'm not even sure we could get to 300 recruit points, even if we tried. So it is very preemptive in that way. But I'm also a little bit concerned about running around with 100 or 14,000 gold, because it feels like, you know, if there's any encounters that try to steal gold from us, I think we've seen some in the past. For the most part, those may have been things that, you know, cost 50 or cost a finite number. But if there's anything that reduces our gold based on a percentage, that's going to hurt. And that's going to hurt a lot. So I feel like, you know, when we have all these excess resources, why not put them to some use here? I mean, also we can have units cost a little bit less toward the recruit cap, which is also not totally necessary at the moment. But I think it's just a less significant version of this. So let's do it. Let's do it. It's huge. I'm not sure if there's ever going to be a subsequent upgrade for this. I mean, there is, one would think, perhaps still room for one more slot here that obviously is not available in Mahakam, but maybe whenever we get to the next area, that will become available to us. Maybe that is something that is so high up there, you know, recruit cap up to, what would it be, 400, 500 maybe even? Are we ever going to have expensive enough cards for that to be a factor? Who knows? Who knows? But we have it now. We did it because we could. It's pretty much what it comes down to. So yeah, we are very low on wood in particular, which may become an issue. If it does, what we'll do is we'll head back down over to this guy and buy some wood with our gold. We could potentially head back for this point of interest. We could either, this is the one where we gamble gold, basically. Lids, you invested in stocks. It's totally different, okay? Yeah, right. So we had the choice of either passing for 0 gold, or investing 0 gold, investing a small amount of gold, or investing a large amount of gold. My theory was that maybe the way it works is basically, if you invest a small amount, it's the game's way of saying, you know, you wanted to gamble, but you just didn't try hard enough, so we're going to punish you and have you get no returns out of this at all. You're just going to throw away 500 gold, or whatever the number was. But the other option of something like 2,500, if you're bold enough to dare that, then you know what? We'll reward you. We'll reward you for your utterly brazen attempt. And so maybe it is worth putting it all on the line there. Especially because, I mean, we did just we did just invest a whole lot in what was going to be our biggest upgrade that we planned to do, and even after spending 2,500, we should still have a reasonable bit of gold remaining, in theory. So, I think still enough to make that purchase from the other dwarf dude in the previous town that we were just talking about. Not entirely sure about that, but, you know, why not? We'll live on the edge a little bit. We'll live life on the edge on this occasion. Will we potentially soft lock ourselves? You know, maybe. Maybe, although, then again, in theory, this encounter is probably optional? Maybe? Then again, it is kind of blocking our way here, and if we automatically get thrown into it when we walk past, that might not be the case. So, yeah, we might soft lock ourselves. Who knows? Who knows? Only time will tell. And also, I mean, Lids, it's not like, I mean, you're saying all this as if you're gonna fail when it comes to investing this money, and clearly that it's not gonna happen, right? Clearly, you're believing in yourself and think that it's gonna work out for you. I mean, yeah, but we also need to be planning for the worst case scenario. Should be doing that too. So let's just see. Let's just see. Is it 2,500? First of all, I suppose. Oh, also, we're still in low morale. What the heck? Didn't reset after that encounter? That's a little bit weird, but it is 2,500. So if we do that, we have about 1,500 left. Let's take a quick look. Rather than trying to do this based off memory, let's take a quick look. If we fast travel back to that other place where we can have the choice of buying the wood, how much does that cost? Was a fast travel spot here somewhere, right? There it is. Just to avoid the soft lock. Let's double check. Let's double check. How much is this? It's 1,000. Oh, we can sell wood to get gold, but I don't think... I mean, that exchange rate looks like it's better, but obviously wood is in scarce supply here in Mahakam, but it's only 1,000 to get. Oh, but it's only 80 wood. Okay, so it's... I mean, that is a pretty nasty exchange rate. 80 wood would normally be worth a lot less than 1,000 gold, I think, but if we are desperate, we could do that. And it'd be enough for us to probably craft at least one, maybe two, possibly even 3 more units if we find ourselves in desperate need. So I think that's at least enough margin that if things go horribly wrong here with us gambling all of our money away, that we can still survive. But who knows? Who knows? We shall see. We shall see. Because my queen, the building houses the Bank of Clan Sigrin. The banker claims that should we invest now, in a few months' time, its worth will increase 3-fold. Sounds too good to be true. Should we invest anything? No, we should invest everything. So at least at the moment, it goes down a lot. But it said, after some time, that our money would increase. So I don't know. Is it thrown away and we'll never get it back? Is it something that, you know, with each encounter, do we just need to wait a certain number of counters and then it'll become available to us again? Will it become available to us after one encounter and the rewards are not very good, but the longer we wait, the more the return goes up? No idea. No idea. But I am curious to find out. Curious to find out. Just that apparently we will not immediately get an answer. And I suppose that does kind of thematically make some sense, given how we're not day trading. We're not you know, immediately flipping our stonks. Not on this occasion. Not on this occasion. But alas, I think this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here, because we have completed what was the main quest mission over here, and flooded the mine by breaking the dam, releasing the river, and the Uruk-hai their refinery has been destroyed, and we are now going to, of course, take down Saruman and the rest of his army. And what, Liz, what, are you still talking about? No. No, I mean, yes, yeah, we're totally talking about Gwent. Out of curiosity, yeah, the next main quest is all the way at the end here, so this presumably is the place where we will actually meet up with Bruver. And not that much remaining, I wouldn't think, until we get there, so we're getting close to the end of Mahakam. But thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.